Because I look forward to it. Save me one. Just after, save me one. Okay, so new sugya, brand new sugya. My impression is that I'm, like I say, sometimes I'm behind the Marmukayim, sometimes I'm ahead. I think today I'm ahead, if I'm not mistaken, because the Marmukayim didn't come out yet. So I'll go slow. They're here today, though, no? I think today's going to be. So I'll go slow. I'll read you from the Gemara, and then we'll get to the Shulchan Aruch and the Poskim, and then let's give you a background so that by the time you get to the Marmukayim today, you'll be able to chazer and to understand this is the new sugya Binyan B'Kalim. Binyan B'Kalim, one of the big sugyas. I mean, you saw what Binyan B'Karka is. Binyan B'Kalim is no smaller. Binyan B'Kalim is some of the most prevalent shilas in Hilchos Shabbos. That's his Binyan B'Kalim. Binyan B'Kalim. So let's see. So Gemara is on Daf Mem Zayin. It's rare that I do this, but if the Olam didn't see yet, so then it's Kedai. The Gemara says in Mem Zayin Amud Aleph, Levi bar Shmuel ashkechinu the Rabbi Abu the Rav Huna bar Chia davekaima pischa de Rav Huna. It's interesting. This Gemara always gives me a chizik. The Gemara talks about that this Amoira met a different Amoira, and it was on the doorway of a certain place, and the doorway of the base medrash of Rav Huna, and that's how it records the conversation. It recounts the conversation that they had, obviously a Torah conversation, the conversation they had on the doorway of the base medrash. You know, you remember things based on that, right? Where were you when the missile went off? You know, what sugi were you learning, right? I always tell them, you know, my first daughter was born during Rav Chaim in Shavuos. I was learning Rav Chaim in Shavuos. The second son was born in the Brisker Rav. It was nice, the Brisker Chalakim of me. Right? By the third child, it was already in the Mishnah Berurah somewhere. But you know, that's how you remember. That's how you remember. He learned this sugya, Binyan B'Kalim, a pischa. The Bei Rav Huna. One day you're gonna be learning a shaila. The shaila is gonna come up in Hilchos Shabbos. He's gonna have a whole shaila. Something is gonna come. All the different shailas that come up, and you're gonna say, that we learned. It was Tucker. You know, it was a very hot day that day. I think, you know, in the base medrash over there. So it says like this. The Gemara says, "Amalei ma'u lahachzer mita shel tarsiyim b'Shabbos." Are you allowed to return a mita shel tarsiyim? Which basically means, could you build a mita shel tarsiyim on Shabbos? Are you allowed to build one? What's this mita shel tarsiyim? So Rashi says over here that there were these traveling blacksmiths, and they would go from ear to ear, and nice in the mita shel prakim. They would hold this bed that you would take apart, like a dismantleable bed. It seems to be that it was quite tight, because it doesn't. We don't hear of any people that fell off the bed in the middle of the night. We don't hear of anybody that fell off the bed in the middle of the night. No, I got to come. They don't hear of people falling off the bed. It seems to be it was quite tight. And it seems to be that they would bring it from place to place. So obviously, it was betachlis to take apart and to put back together again. So Gemara says, are you allowed to do this? Omar Lei. Now, this Gemara has to give you a real chizik. Because if you think boin is shver and the Gedarim are so shver, I mean, we were talking about shilas yesterday that I was saying certain things are either mutter gomer or chayiv misa. The extremities are incredible, because by boina, there's not that much in between. It's you're trying to figure out, is this considered one with the karka or not? A kam it is, it's mamish chayiv chatas. If kam it's not, it's mutter gomer. It's mamish anointed Shabbos. Somebody was asking. And he has a candy drawer, and the candy drawer on Shabbos, the kids, they know about the candy drawer, and it was attached to a closet, which is attached to the wall. Even if it wouldn't be attached to the wall, if it's a big closet, but here it was attached to the wall. And the kids on Shabbos, they were playing with it, and they yanked it out. Right? And so the parents saw that it would be like a dangerous thing and whatever. So it was like hanging. So they just like pulled it out the gamre and put it on the countertop. You know, like nobody would even dream that that's probably a gamre. It's a deraisa, not even a derabbanan. It's not something that's meant to come in and out. And they were doing it without any qualms. Nobody didn't think it's a problem. And somebody said that, like what we said in the Shiur, some of that would be in Issa Gomer. Mamash is Issa Gomer. But so over here, this is unbelievable. He asks him, can I take this bed that I take apart and I put back together? And it seems to be he would take it apart and put it back together, every time he would travel, which seems to be quite often. He was a traveling blacksmith. So the Gemara says, he tells him, Shapir Dami, that's permitted. Asula Kamid Rav Yehuda, so he came in front of Yehuda. He wasn't, he probably didn't have a Chacham Shahira. He probably asked it in learning. He wasn't asking it Lamaisa. So he said, what do you hold about this? Amar, that's a Shaila. Rabbi Shmuel, Damar Travai. Rabbi Shmuel, how many places we know that Rabbi and Shmuel disagree with each other, right? But Rabbi Shmuel, he was trying to say like, Rabbi Shmuel, Damar Travayu. Here, even Rabbi Shmuel agreed. There was no Shaila. Damar Travai, Chayiv Chatis. To put this bed back together on Shabbos, Chayiv Chatis. Unbelievable thing. That means there's a man out there that holds that to take this bed, you could take it on and put it back together on Shabbos, no question. And Rabbi Shmuel Damar Travayu, to put this bed together on Shabbos, what? Chayiv Chatis. What are you talking? Now you see how difficult the sugya is. Now you see how difficult. Ad Kedei Kach, one of the kashas that Taisus asks here on the sugya is, shouldn't they have made it Rabbanan? Imamish Kimad asked this question. They should have made it Rabbanan over here, something, Okay. Then the Gemara goes weiter, says, Meisvei, Hamachzir Kona Menoira B'Shabbos, Chayiv Chatis. I always envision like a leichter or something that, they screw on and screw off, but it's not mashma that that's the case. It sounds like something that the leichter didn't screw on and screw off, but it's just like, you plug it in very tightly, you shtup it in very tight. If you do that on Shabbos, chayiv chatis. So whatever happened to ein binyan b'kelim? What happened to ein binyan b'kelim? Taisus already asked. So Gemara says, you have this painter's stick. Now, Pashtus, all these sugyas, we're not talking about folding chairs and folding items and things that are, like you have we'll see. Pashtus, we're not talking about like a painter stick that just gets bigger and bigger, but it's all within one kli. And he just clicks into place, etc. Pashtus, we're talking about a painter stick that he puts on this piece, and then he puts on a bigger piece, and he puts on a piece that he's able to get to the roof. And that's the tachlis is gavaldik. You have a small painter stick, and then you have one that you can reach the roof with, and whatever. So they even have them. They have them today. Remember when somebody came to paint the roof once? So I saw it. Yes, it's this thing, and it wasn't attached. It was like a different piece that he puts on. So what happens if you put that on Shabbos? So Gemara says that lo yachzir. Don't do it. If you did it, pater. That's only the Rabbanan. In the first case, the menorah, you plug it in and you put it together. That's chayiv chatis. The menorah, the painter stick, you're not allowed to do it. If you did it, it's only in Issa D'Rabbanan. Okay? And then the Gemara says, it's pater v'alaser. Rabbi Simai says, keren agula chayiv, keren pshuta pater, depends what type. Okay? These are types of instruments. Okay, some of them could be chayiv, some could be pater. Diamar ki haitana. So this is a question. Are you telling me that a mita shel tarsiyim is chayiv chatis? What are you telling me over here? It seems to be that what's the whole knack of a kana shel sayadim, a painter stick? It's something that you don't leave like that. You put it on, you take it off. So it seems to be like a binyan l'shah type svar, something that you take on and you take off. So that doesn't become a binyan. So here too, why not by the mita shel tarsiyim? The chayyur v'hun is correct. That if you only build it for a day or whatever, then that's not chayiv chatis. So he says, look, what should I tell you? Some type of a bed. V'levachim shel sakivas. Lo yachzer v'michzer pater aval aser. V'lo yitka v'imtaka chayiv chatis. Rav Shem Gamliel says, Ima yarafoi moter. Ima yarafoi moter. Over here, the Gemara seems to say three things. The Gemara seems to say there's a case here. There seems to be maskana the Gemara. There seems to be the case here that's taka. If you taka, and that's already the ikar words in the sugi here. Taka, and that'll be pshat and mita shel tarsiyan. If you take a bed and you make it tight, wedge it tight together, taka. Taka doesn't necessarily mean to screw in. We'll talk about screwing in. But taka, to make something tight, so that's chayiv chatis. And that's the case of mita shel tarsiyan. Okay, so what's the case which is patra aval aser? So the Gemara says, there's a case here. Gemara doesn't tell us what it is. It's like some case of mita levachin, but it seems to be it's not taka, because once it's taka, it's chayiv chatis. So then there's something which is taka, then there's something which is not taka, and that's Asa D'Rabbanan. And then there's a third thing. The third thing, then if there's something roughly is weak. Roughly is like a weaker connection, which gives us the impression that, so it means I guess there was taka chayiv chatis, roughly mutter gomer. something that's a weak connection, and then something in the middle. I'll give you the name of the poskim that say, they call it hiddik. Hiddik. If you're confused now, then you understand the Gemara. Taka, very tight. I don't know what I'm saying, but taka, that's chayiv chantis. Rafui, the other extreme, seems to be mutagamer, because they ain't binyan b'kelim, right? Ain't binyan b'kelim. And in the middle, hiddik seems to be something like middle tight, and that's part of a lasser, not so strong, not so light, something like that. And then the Gemara says, Beirav Chama Vemita Galalinta, there was such a bed. And Ha'amalei Haimer Rabbanan L'Rava, my daitcha, binyan minatzadu. So he says, you think that you're allowed to make this thing? Nei disiter isoleka, but there's at least an isiter Rabbanan. And he says, I hold like Rav Shimon and Gamliel that said Rafu is mutter. Ad kan the Gemara. This Gemara is Tain Bir Harvey. This Gemara is everything you're going to learn in the next week. Binyan B'Kelim is all based on this Gemara. What does the Gemara say? So Taisus right away in Shabbos and Dafkuf Beis in the base. Taisus over here in Mem Zayin Beis, we have it open, so I'll read you the Taisus here. Taisus in Dibur Masel Rabban Shimon Gamliel. Taisus says, yeah, but what happened to all these things? First Taisus asks our kasha. He says, Kashik Sas, how can it be such an extreme machlekes? Heiche pligi kulei hai, Mara marchayiv chatis and Mara marshari. How can it be? How is it possible? Void, ein binyan b'stira b'kelim. What happened to ein binyan b'stira b'kelim? That's like the $1 million shayla. What happened to ein binyan? Yesh leimar. So he says here, how does he answer the question? He says, Yesh leimar, that he's saying, Rav Shmuel, Dar Mitzvaya, Maxim Mita, Shal Tarsim, Shabbos Chayiv Chatis, that's Kishe Ein Rafi. In case the Rafi ain't Sfar Latil. Okay, what's going on here? Tyson over here is laying down a big aside. I'll tell you one thing, just in order to say, Pshat the Sugya. Rashi firmly believes Ein Binyan B'Kelim ever. That's Rashi. Rashi goes Ein Binyan B'Kelim. And every time you're going to find the Gemara, whether it's here, whether it's in Be'ah, whether it's in Erevin, anytime you're going to find the Gemara that discusses a Kli, and the Gemara is saying that there's some type of a Chiv Chatis when you're making it, Rashi always says Makeh B'Patish. Rashi holds Ein Binyan B'Kelim. A Keli is something that we didn't find in the Mishkan. Rashi holds, we didn't find Kalim in the Mishkan. It wasn't what they built in the Mishkan. I guess Rashi is much more Mishkan-based, and you have to have a dogma in the Mishkan. And therefore, anytime you're going to see Gemara, it says Chayiv, it means Makeh B'Patish. Is there an nafkamina? Maybe there'll be an nafkamina. We'll have to see. What's an nafkamina? Who could think? Well, Sahasra and Hanami, if you want to throw him off a cliff. Right? You have another nicer one. Saiser. Oh, the Saiser. Nafkamina will be Saiser. We know Baina has an opposite malacha. But Makeh B'Patish doesn't have an opposite malacha. So that's a very important cloud. Rashi is going to always go that there's no binyan. That means according to Rashi, there's no Saiser. There's no Saiser B'Kelim. According to Rashi, you can never find a case in Saiser B'Kelim. That's Rashi's going to hold everywhere. But Taisus, it holds on like that. We basically pass in that we're chayshish for both, but Al Kapanim, we certainly are nervous. And from this point on, I'm going to, like all the pais can call it Baina, I'll be calling it Baina probably like Taisus. But that means that what? When you say the words Ein Binyan B'Kelim, what does it mean? According to Taisus, Ein Binyan B'Kelim means that if you're going to connect it with a weak connection, what's called weak, we have to talk about. But if you connect it with a connection which isn't called weak, which isn't considered a strong connection, then we say Ein Binyan B'Kelim. But if you connect it tight means taka so far, then that's yes binyan b'kelim. And it's not in the case of the Mishkan, so what? Maybe it's a tolda, maybe it's something that you can understand is al derech that it makes it one, just like that became one with the God. By kelim, in order to become one, you need to have, I guess the lumdus is like this, when you have a keli, and it's not like mamish taka, it's not mamish tight. So then we don't see the oneness. It's something that you see, it assembles, it reassembles, it disassembles. It's something that you can see can come apart. You don't see a oneness over there. Mashain came by karka. It's not like that. Even when something is weak, you can have a lot of times. That's the mitzvah. The karka doesn't have to have a strong chibur, and that becomes a oneness with the karka. If you understand that, good. If not, it's also okay. But that's the halacha. What? Just one moment. Mashain, it's tight. It's tight. The Rambam says, like the Rambam's example in my brain, I always think of when you tuck one piece of wood into another piece like a metal, I always think of like a hammer, A hammer is a good example of that. You have that piece of the hammer, the wooden part and the metal part, and it's wedged in extremely tight that, if ever it comes out, they have to like knock it in with another hammer. And that's an example of taka. Taisus says, the Rambam says, that's yesh binyan b'kelim. Yesh binyan b'kelim, because it's tight, it becomes one. There's a person when he looks at a hammer, does he see it's like two parts? He doesn't look at it like that. He doesn't see it as that. He sees it as one. That's that. Sorry? Taisus is masking that maybe by kelim, there wasn't binyan in the Mishkan because there wasn't, right? So either Taisus will hold this is a tolda, or Taisus will hold he doesn't care. There's no, this is the same. It's the same lathe. The way you get binyan over there is by making it one. But again, what's very important to remember is ein binyan b'kelim. What do the words mean? According to Rashi, it's computer. Ein binyan b'kelim. It's always going to be makav patish, and therefore there's no seiser. It's very big nafkamina, tremendous nafkamina. According to Rashi, the whole shaila of opening a tuna can on Shabbos does not start. There's no shaila. According to Rashi, it's mutter gomer. You can open a tuna can on Shabbos. There is no shaila. Because what are you doing? The most you're doing is being seiser clear. Okay, we'll get to the Chazon Ish. Maybe a new problem. Okay, but computer, the shaila that all the poskim discussed was the shaila originally. The poskim, the Friedrich poskim discussed. You're allowed to open up a tuna can on Shabbos, and feed this. So the answer will be, according to Rashi at the Shal Shudis opened up the tuna can. That's what will come out. Sorry? Taisus is a shaila now. Maybe Stira B'Kalim, we have to see. Maybe this is Terim, but that's not our sugya. What? Excuse me, what? Oh, so that's old shaila. Every time you have something that is already a one malacha, when I finish cooking something, say I cooked something. When I cook something, so then we don't say when you finish cooking, it's considered makabash. Now that's not really a raya. Should I tell you why? Because when you finish cooking something, it happens on its own. So maybe makav patish, there has to be a ma'isa, right? But you don't say when a person does kaitzer, he's also over a makav patish. But maybe that's also not a raya. It's also not a raya. Maybe there, when you're doing one ma'isa, and we're trying to define what's one ma'isa, is it kaitzer, is it makav patish, says the Mishnah Melech in 4 places. Then we call it kaitzer, not makav patish. But Rabbi Lieberman's asking, how's it going to work? Let's say I'm in the middle of building a kli, like I built this mita shel tarsiyim, according to Rashi. So I put on one leg. I put it on very tight. Am I over on makav patish? Then I finish the bed. Try sleeping on that bed. Right? Princess in the pea. Try sleeping on such a bed. Then you put on the other leg. It's a medrash, don't worry. Then you put on the other leg. And what? You try sleeping on that bed. According to Taisus, binyan b'kelim, yes, binyan b'kelim, yes, binyan b'kelim. According to Rashi, I didn't do anything yet. It's hard to believe that, no? And finally, I put on the last leg, so then I'll be over on makav patish. What? Do you believe that? Sorry? So there's a shaila. Maybe there's a makav patish at every stage. But here it's a little bit worse. Here, it's no stage at all. I don't know. Okay, why are you causing trouble? I don't know. But that's a shaila. Because we're going to go anyways divided with Taisus. And okay, we'll go by with Taisus. In the meantime, yesh binyan b'kelim when it's very, very strong. Okay, my contract's not mechayiv me to go into that right now. Because again, no matter what, so far, at least in Hilchos Binyan, there's not such of a nafkamina, because we're certainly going to be chayshish for Taisus. Comes again the Shulchan Aruch, and I'll read it to you. I know that I didn't see it yet, so we'll read it together. Shulchan Aruch Sivav, he says what I just told you. The Shulchan Aruch, there's a big fight here. That's very interesting. Before I continue, the Chazain Ish in Hilchos Baina, is he a machmir or is he a mekel? Right? So I think everybody in the world knows that this is where the Chazon Ish shines. This was the chumrah. If you ever want to know what's the chumrah of the Chazon Ish, it's in Baina, right? This is where he turned chashmal, he turned electricity into one of the 39 malachas. They have to be about maifis to do such a thing. Yisat Rebbe Zechar Levrach, he said, the Gdolim, they looked at the electricity, they said, this thing is for sure asa. Just don't know why, but this thing is for sure asa. So the Sat Rebbe gesagt, the Chazon Ish looked at the electricity and said, what's the Sat Rebbe? What's the kasha b'chal? This thing is Baina. He looked at electricity, he saw Baina. Says the Chazon Ish in Hilchos Baina, is he a machmir or is he a mekel? So they'll think, you're going to see today, if we get there today, the Chazon Ish, the biggest mekel that walked the face of this earth ever in Hilchos Baina. Ever. He has kulas here. It's not to be believed. He goes against Shulchan Aruch. I mean, some of them he says, I am agreeing with Shulchan Aruch, but it's not the conventional pshat. He argues on Kimat every single Mishnah Berurah over here in Siman Shin Yud Gimel Sifav. Kimat every single one. Every single one he argues. And then he argues on everyone. The Ramah argues everybody. The Chazon Ish wasn't afraid of anyone except for God. No one. So Mamela is and from there you're going to get to electricity. Electricity is going to somehow be also because of Baina. So figure that one out. Okay. Upon him, because I was reading some. Not everybody should write. Not everybody should write. I was reading on the yard side. No, not everybody should write. Why should everybody write? Why should everybody write? Why should everybody write? Anyways, I was reading, somebody sent me on the Chazon Ish's yard side. God, it wasn't even the right day. Okay, but he sent me a thing about the Chazon Ish, right? And he was trying to explain to a crowd that wasn't familiar with the Chazon Ish or whatever. He was trying to explain to them who exactly the Chazon Ish was. And you're right, the Chazon Ish was the one that had tremendous, stringent views in Hilchos Shabbos, e.g. means like what? No, extremely gefährlich, right? E.g. Baina, where he came to his novel approach that the Chashmal is Baina on Shabbos and whatever. It's like, I don't talk about things that I don't know. I don't know how to cook, so I don't tell my wife how to make schnitzel, right? If you don't know how to read the Chazon Ish, then don't talk about him. Have a little respect. Chazon Ish in Hilchos Baina was the makel of the century, of the world, but the century, since the time of the Ramah. He argued on the Ramah. The Ramah is being too machmer in Hilchos Baina. Let's see. Let's get a little bit of what's going on here, a glimpse. But the reason I gave that hakdama, I haven't been waiting 4.5 months to say that, or maybe I was, but the reason I said that is because the way I'm going to read now Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah and the Mishnah Berurah is the conventional way, the Mishnah Berurah's mouth, the Paiskin's mouth. But everything's about to change. And the Chazon Ish is about to have a whole different plan over here. But again, you saw in the Gemara, seemingly there's 3 cases, and that's what our job is to figure out. We have a case that's chayiv chatis. You have to figure out what that is. I told you it's something like taka, whatever taka is. I don't know what taka is. And then there's a case which is a Rabbanon case of Baina, some middle case, I don't know. And then roughly, the word roughly means it's a weak connection. And that case is going to be mutter. That's what it says in the Gemara. Now we have to figure what plugs in, what fits into this. The doll, the baby comes, the child comes to you, and the poor doll, the doll decapitated, and they bring you the head over here, and the baby over there, and the baby's crying. The child's crying, do something, So right away, what's going to be your first reaction? Are you allowed to take the doll head and put it back on? You got what's going on. You got Chamshi's toilet. You got the chveisnish. You have the candy drawer which is coming out. You have the fake tile that's over there. You have all this, and now the kid comes, and this is what I have to deal with. The baby comes with the doll. The head is in one hand, the body's in the other hand, and they want to know what to do. Can I put it back together? So what's your first reaction? Oh, the first reaction of Vada has to be that the Shulchan Aruch in Yeridea in Siman Kuf Mem Beis. And also, it's Taka Gemara Rosh Hashanah, and also Gemara Avodah Zarah and Daf Mem Gimel. The Gemara says over there that you're not allowed to make sculptures of people, which is like a Tzelem Elikim. So you're talking about Hilchos Shabbos. Am I allowed to go and put it back together again? Because, the whole medrash with Humpty Dumpty, who knows, right? Verves, right? Who knows if you're allowed to put it back together? You might have a problem with Sasaniti. And that's on a Tuesday. Now the child comes on a Shabbos, and he's holding the doll on the head and this. It's okay, so maybe, I don't know, we'll have to see if we can get out of that child. Or let's say maybe it's an arm. Maybe an arm isn't the problem. We'll have to see, who knows. So now you have to know, are you allowed to put it back together? Is that called taka? Ain't binyan b'kelim. But Rashi would say it's makar patish maybe. But is this taka? Is this the middle one? Or is this roughly? Is it roughly? Who knows? Does anybody know the answer to this question? So you have to try to, let's see. So let's see what the Shulchan Aruch says. So, what? If it came out? No. Why not? Why can't it be? Of course it's tight. These kids, sometimes what they do, what are you talking about? What? Alavai, throw it across the room, right? Stop by the window. Sometimes goes out. Alavai, right? And the neighbor's kids, what the neighbor's kids do. Look at the Shulchan Aruch says. Let's see. Nitel shel perokim. This dismantleable bed. Anybody have something like this that we can think of that you have like this that you take apart? They're not talking about high risers and things like that. I told you that's something that just pops into its place. We'll have to talk about that. Anybody have an idea of something that we you put together and take apart? What? No, but it's not really true because you don't. You just sort of leave it there. What? The pull up. The pull up is that's different shoes. That's makar patish. Stroller what? What? Because of the stroller, he says, I didn't want to be the one to do it, but Baruch Hashem, Rabbi Leibovitz is here. Scotty, you should know, it's a big thing that Rabbi Leibovitz came back. I should make an announcement. It's very difficult. Yesterday, I kept calling it a manhole, and he was very upset. And he came back nonetheless, and I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of you. Right? So, no, he didn't want me to do it in public, but I felt I needed to ask Mechila in public. So he says a case, and he's causing trouble. I wasn't going to do this. I was going to think of like IKEA, like Nussi, right? But he says, what do you mean? You have those prams, that's my wife calls it, what are the normal people call it? Carriages, right? Americans, what? Stroller. You have a stroller and a buggy, right? And you take out the seat, and the seat clicks in and clicks out. That thing is very tight. very tight. They tell you can put in there even a big baby, like a shaggy baby. That's how, you put in there a big gesunter one. No, nothing's going to happen. It's going to stay. It's not going to fall. It's not going to this. I'll say it. No. He says, and that you take it apart and you put it back together and whatever. No, that sounds like a mita. That sounds like a mita shel prakim. That sounds like a mita shel prakim. What are you telling me? What do you mean? But they do it all the time. No, fregech, no. And what was with over here, the mita shel tarsiim? They also did it all the time. What's the difference? Elamai, what are you going to say? You're going to say, no, come on. The mita shel tarsiim was with nails and screws and this and that. Listen, I don't know. But I imagine that it was in a way where it was user-friendly to take apart, right? Because, it can't be something that when you're putting it together, it's going to be so difficult to take apart. Otherwise, it could have just said, a mita, you're not allowed to take apart and put back together again. There's like some mita shel tarsiim. It had obviously some copyright over here, something that was known by people that they had this bed. It was very tight when you put it together, and then you took it apart. So that's Rabbi Leibowitz, when he reads this Shulchan Aruch, he sees over here this baby carriage, this mita shel prakim aser lahachzira ulahadka. So first of all, you're not allowed to put it together. Aser means d'Rabbanan. You're not allowed to put it together, this I don't know, we'll call it this baby carriage, right? You're not allowed to put it together. If it's, I'll say the word like the Shulchan Aruch says, lahadka. What's hidik? Hidik means tight, okay. But then imtaka, taka seems to be not just tight, it means like wedged or I don't know, something even tighter. I don't know, whatever it is, but something tighter. So then that's chayiv chatas. Is anything tighter than the baby carriage? I don't think so, right? It can't be any tighter than that, but okay, whatever, maybe. So it's either hadik or taka, I don't know. So if you taka, chayv chatis. V'im, what happened to binyan l'shah? What happened to binyan l'shah? He's going to take it apart, right? The Torah says, binyan l'shah v'binyan. What's the raya, binyan l'shah v'binyan? This Gemara says the Avnei Nezer. This is the raya, binyan l'shah v'binyan. Yeah. A binyan that you're doing only for 24 hours less doesn't matter because it's something that could last. Could the baby carriage last? The baby carriage could last. Besides, it's something you're doing for a short amount of time. So what? Binyan l'shah is yes a binyan. Chayiv chatas, no games. If it's not as strong, it's hadik, whatever that is. I haven't explained to you because I don't understand it. So then it's only Rabbanan. V'im hi rafui mutar lichatchila. What is rafui? Now I must ask you, Rabbi say, what's the pshat in this bed? It's like rickety, he's falling. It must be that roughly, I don't know. I mean, nobody speaks out. They had a lot of faith in us, the Gedolim. The Gedolei Poskim, the Mishnah Berurah, the Graz, all the Poskim. They had a lot of faith in us. They didn't need to give us examples. It was so simple to them that I'm going to know what roughly and Hiddik and Taka and all these things are. I ask you one question. Do you think the bed that he made, which was roughly, I'm asking, you can disagree with me, but I'm probably right on this one. If they made a bed that was roughly, you think the pshat was like he would go on it and it would break apart and fall? Probably not, right? It's not a stabber because then it's weird. It's a weird thing to say. It means that roughly also must have some level of where it holds. I'll say it like that, some level of where it holds. Come again? Maybe like a table. He says like this. Rabbi Leibowitz says, look, a table leaf is something that in essence, it's really like you're being tricked. It's like not an optical illusion. What's it called? What? What's it called? What? It's like an optical illusion. Optical illusion. You think it's really like connected, this optical illusion, right? But it's not really. Really, so this is pushing over here, and this is pushing over here. So you feel like, so what's that? Is that hiddik? Again, I'm not discussing halacha l'maisa now on any of these shilos, not on baby carriages, not on beds, not on IKEA, not on anything, but just conceptually right now. I just want to know what's called tight and what's called loose and so when I have a table that I push the leaf and I push the leaf on that side, forget if it's mutter. Don't worry, mutter also. That's not the point right now. The point is that called tight? Is that called tight? It's the tightest thing in the world, right? I mean, you try to take it out, you ain't going to be able to, right? It's the tightest thing in the world. So what is that? Or do you say, yeah, but the chibur, the connection between the leaf and the tree, right? The connection between the table and the leaf is roughly. It's a roughly connection. So you can have a roughly connection. It's like a big meifis that was Nisgala over here today, right? You can have a roughly connection. Maybe roughly is a reference to the connection. You can have a roughly connection, and you can have a very, very strong thing. Maybe the bed was like that. I don't know. Sorry? Maybe? Well, you just said something else. The connection is very tight. The fact that I might have a self-destruct button of a click, okay, we have to see. That's a svara. You just said a chiddush. Listen, I can't. I allow chidushim, but first you have to know what's the pashut. What? No, I don't know if that's true. Is it tight? No. What do you think? What? Maybe we can kidnap one of your children for the shiur tomorrow. I don't need a kid. I just need the stroller. No? I have a stroller with you? No. I meant the baby, not you. What? To what? I mean, the shelf is a binyan b'karka. Don't get confused. That's karka, but you're saying theoretically, conceptually. Not halachic. You mean just, yeah, so what do you want to say? I don't know. I have some shelves that they're very much. The shelf I'm thinking of is just comes up and all. But again, that's what I'm saying. We have to figure out here. We have to figure out here when I'm touching up roughly. Am I touching up the strength of its connection? Let me say it in a different language. Am I touching up the place of chibur, the place where it connects, and then there's no connection at all by a table leaf, right? Or am I touching up the extent of its oneness? Which there it is much more of a oneness because it's wedged together. Whatever it said, this is all very difficult. The place is going to have a tremendous amount of faith in us. If I say today's shiur, it doesn't count. And this isn't going to count in the cheshbon of shiur because we're just learning together over here. Ve'emi rafui. So Shulchan Aruch says like this: this bed. I'm sorry, Rabbi Leibovitz's pram, buggy, right? So if you did it with tkiya, chayiv chatas. Ve'imhi rafui. Oh, but the Rama adds words here. Vim darkali yisrafi. Oh, what's that all about? Vim darkali yisrafi mutar lechatchila. What's that all about? Wait, just a moment. We got new words here. Vim yirafui mutar lechatchila. The Rama adds the words. Vim darka liyisrafi. Chazon Ish isn't going to like this. All right. So he says vim darka liyisrafi. What does this mean? Now comes again the Rama, the way the Rama is learning the Shulchan Aruch, and he says a whole new thing. We know rafui is mutar, but the Rama adds words. It's not enough to be rafui. It's got to be darker liyos rafui. What does that mean? What's the difference between if it's darker? So let's say you have a bed, and the normal thing you do is you plug it in. You know, again, I told you. I think that like I mentioned before. I don't think it's shaky. I don't think it's rickety. I think the pshat is that when you're putting in the bed, there's like 3 levels. You can whack it in hard, mamish taka, and then when you're going to whack it out, it will come out. It's something like that. It will come out. You can take it apart. You know. Then there's a way you could do it behidik. You do it like, hard, but not hard, right? And then there's a way that you do it that it holds. What? I don't even know resting. I'm not sure resting. Maybe it goes, it holds. I'm not sure. We have to see. That levels, we'll decide. Fine. But you know what? Comes again the Rama over here, and he says, very nice. Let's say I'll establish it's called roughly, whatever roughly is. But now, let's say it's a roughly that the derech is to be taka. The normal of what you do is that you don't just leave it in this weak type of a situation. You plug it in stark, you push it in stark. So now the Rama over here made a new gzeira, which somehow he learned in the Gemara over here. And he says, the Gemara says, Reb Shimon Gamliel Omer, Ima yarafui mutter. But the Rama says, no, not always is rafui mutter. Rafui is only mutter if it's the derech to be taka. But if the derech to be taka, we're even going to ask the rafui, because we're going to be afraid that you're going to go and do taka. Okay, so what are the 3 levels then? So let's see. Taka, chayv misa, hadik, whatever that is, asur d'Rabbanan. And it seems to be, hadik is asur d'Rabbanan, even if it's not the derech to be taka, right? Because in a minute we'll see that's what rafui is. Hadik, chayv misa, taka, chayv misa, hadik, asur d'Rabbanan, even if it's not the derech to be taka. It's the derech to be hadik. I imagine some of these guys in their tertian beds were probably the derech to be hadik. Mistamba, because fakir, they didn't want it the whole time, have to work hard to get it out. As a matter of fact, it always interested me. The Shulchan Aruch over here, he starts out, I wouldn't have started like this. I would have said, meet the shalprakim, when you're putting together a bed, if you do it taka, you chayiv chates. If you do it hadik, it's d'Rabbanan. And then if you don't, it's rafui, it's mutter. He doesn't say that. He says the opposite. He says, a tertian bed. If you do hadik, it's a d'Rabbanan. If you do it taka, chayiv chates. If you do it rafui, mutter. Like, doesn't stay. You don't write. That's not how you say it. That's not a normal seder. It's not a normal seder. It should say mutter aser deraisa, or it should say deraisa drabanan mutter. What's this this weird thing? It starts out aser, then goes to chayiv, and then goes back to mutter. What is the teretz is? I think that the pshat is. I think it was normal that they would do this with the bed. They would probably do hiddik. Because Pashut, I guess you have to wedge it in very stark, and it was maybe a little difficult to take out. So the normal thing was this: you should know if you do it taka, you chayiv chatis, right? But by the way, if you do it weak, I can only be makel because weak is mutter. Weak is not considered ein binyan b'kelim, but weak is only mutter if it's not the derech to be a taka. If it's a derech to be a taka, then I'm even going to ask a rafui because you might come to do it taka. Ad kan is the way that all of the Paiskim learned over the course of all of the Dairis. And then the Mishnah Berurah, it's not enough for the Mishnah Berurah, the Chumras that I said to you today. Those are the three levels that come out of the Gemara. The Mishnah Berurah, now you have to go learn the Gemara like that. Mishnah Berurah now adds another Chumrah. No, not enough. It's not enough. Mishnah Berurah adds another Chumrah. This Chumrah, the Chazon doesn't even know what to do with this one. He doesn't even know where to go on this one. This the Mishnah Berurah brings down over here in Sivkat and Mem Gimel. He also brings it in Siman Shin Ches in Sivkat 9 Gimel. That's in Hilchas Muktzah. There's a lot of these sugyas also. Now, Baisai, we're going to get back into a sugya which we learned in Muktzah. That's why we're doing Baina now, which was the sugya of when a glass pops out of the glasses and this and that. Am I going to metaltal that I might come to put it? There was a Shema Yitaka that we learned about once. Remember Shema Yitaka? This is the hemshech of the sugya, and now we're going to put it all together, Bezos Hashem. But over here comes again the Mishnah Berurah and Sivkat Mem Gimel, and he says, Lo Yahadik. We're finally going to get some guidance from the Rebbe. What does it mean, Lo Yahadik? Lo Yahadik means don't make it tight. Super tight is the deraisa, but don't even make it tight, and don't make it tight, even if it's not the derech, to be super tight. Tight itself is an isser. Right? Should I just explain to you what I mean before we go weiter? If you wanted to shtel Lego, du kennst doch Lego, it's from your time also, no, Lego. So Lego, right? So if you want to talk about Lego, but again, I'm not getting involved with Lego's boina. I only care today about one thing. I care about strength when I want to just know a comparison board of what's strong. So they have this Lego, like the baby Lego. What's it called? Duplo. The Heimat the Megadithin Duplo. Yeah? Duplo. So Duplo is like a Lego that you put it on, and it doesn't mamish stay. But it stays, like sort of, let's say you try to pick it up from the Duplo, right? You just Duplo, right? It won't go, right? You try to pick it, so maybe you know what I mean, that it like sort of stays. That's for sure roughly. That's not the derech to be hiddik. So Duplo is mutter gomer. If you guys are still holding by playing, Shan Rishayna guys and whatever, you're still holding by playing with Duplo, okay? Then you can have something, the next thing, sometimes you have those Legos, sometimes you have those Legos that they're wedged in like Fregnish, what I'm talking about, right? And it's been there since, the Mamish from no, I mean from Noach left the Teva and Geveiluch, it's Mamish tight and you can't get it out and whatever, right? It's very tight. Who knows? Does anybody know if that's called tucker or not? The regular Lego, when you build regular Lego, what is that? Is that hiddik? Is that whatever? What? No, that's a new svara. You're causing trouble, Rabbi Zinger. That's a new svara, right? Lego. Man hat ein Geschäft. Du verstehst Lego, yeah? Get there. That's what you're talking halacha. I'm not talking halacha today. I'm trying to talk about what's called strength. Don't cause trouble. Boss? No, why? Some of those Legos are. Don't give a lumdis in Lego, right? You just uptight a shtick Lego. The Lego's tight and deal with it. Right? The little ones that you're sitting next to him, deal with him. The little ones, sometimes, I'm talking about, get a little one. It's not just because you can't get a grip. It's sometimes so tight. It's like mamish. Some of the World Trade Center, the Empire State Building is built with these, made with these things. So listen what it says here in the Mishnah Berurah. He talks about lo yahadik. Listen to Mishnah Berurah. He says lo yahadik. So now the Mishnah Berurah is going to start giving us some guidance in lo yahadik. Lo yahadik. So what's hiddik? Because we don't even know what hiddik is. So Mishnah Berurah says, rafui ve'enoi rafui. What if it's rafui ve'enoi rafui? What is that? Right? So Mishnah Berurah says, what is it, first of all? That's less than hadik, right? Because it's not rafui, but it's not hadik. It's rafui ve'enoi rafui. So like a new madrega. There's rafui, there's in between, as if we know what rafui is. That's a great Mishnah Berurah. You see how much the Mishnah Berurah holds of us. Mishnah Berurah holds, rafui you know, and hiddik you know. What if you have something in between rafui and hiddik, as if I know what that is? So Mishnah Berurah says, that's also aser. Not enough chumras for the Mishnah Berurah. Now he's a fourth one, okay? So now you have rafui is mutter unless it's a derech liyos taka. Rafui is aser if it's a derech liyos taka. One iser. Iser number two, rafui ve'enoi rafui, even if it's not the derech to be taka. Hiddik aser taka Chayv Misa. Okay, those are the Gedarim. Adkan is a sugya. What if it's rough if darkly eyes? So ask a different question. What if it's roughly ve'ain darkly eyes taka, but darkly eyes hidik? It's roughly, but it's a darkly eyes hidik. Okay, what about that case? A lot of cases we're going to see when I get to practical. You see how real this is. What? The Ramah's lashon is that the Ramah didn't say it, says Rabbi Cooper, in the positive, right? He said in the negative. He said in the positive. V'im dark aliyos roughly, you have to be dark aliyos roughly. I kept telling you what the Ramah is saying is that you can't be dark aliyos taka. The Ramah doesn't say that. I said that. The Ramah doesn't say that. Rabbi Cooper says, it doesn't say that. You know what the Ramah says? The Ramah says it has to be darka liyois roughly. It's got to be something that the derech to be roughly. Otherwise, we're automatically going to assume that you're going to do what's the derech. So maybe even roughly, certainly hiddik and certainly, but this is a world war, which we'll get to in a minute. Now, let's go one by one. What's taka? So the Graz says, what's taka? The Graz, the Baal Tanya, you've got in Chaf, he says taka means you need chizik and umnis. These words are brought by the Bir Halacha. Look on the page. Darkly is Rafi. Aval b'smag isa dafka davar shetzar gvura ve'umnis. What's taka? Taka is something that you need strength and umnis and skill. Do I need both? Do I need either? What is it? And it's so tight that it's like it's like gvura ve'umnis. Maybe what's this? Okay, you have to figure this out. All right. Mishabura you've got Memhei when he discusses taka. His lashon is he says. Hatam, why is roughly mutter? Ein derech lahade kol kach b'chayzik sheyeh k'moy tkiya. It's not the derech to do so strong like tkiya. So what's tkiya? Tkiya is so strong. Tkiya is so strong. Okay. So then, okay, I know what tkiya is. Tkiya is really strong. What's hiddik? Okay. Don't know. Let's see. Chutshani, he writes that by roughly, the Chutshani says something in page 249. He says roughly means that the whole is larger than the thing that goes into it. In other words, it moves around in the whole. What? Those are his words. He says it moves around in the whole. Might be a big chumrah, that, no? What? That might be a big chumrah. Bir Halacha says misnaneya. Where's that Bir Halacha? I know shein makbid misnaneya b'toich achor. Sounds like it's a straight Bir Halacha. Sounds like it moves around. That doesn't sound exactly like I said before, no? Before I was telling you that roughly means there's something else. No, roughly just means that the chibur is of such. Very hard to say, you know? Should we just go to like something easier? No, but does it move around in the hole? That's the question. Does it move around the hole? Okay, let's see, whatever we can get, we get, no? Okay, what about a screw? What would you think a screw is? Before you started learning Brayna, what would you think? I mean, that's the most chayiv thing in the ganze Welt, right? Mamish, like, you know, where is there in Afkamina? So some people have like, the leichters, a lot of people have like that the leichters screw in, right? You know, I'm talking about that the leichters like they screw in, right? So some people have that, some people have a kiddush cup like that the leg, they screw in. There's a lot of things like this. What else does anybody else have things like this? No, but Balakab is a different shmooze. That's for different, I'm saying things that remain as a one. We'll see, Balakab. It's true. What? Sorry? Oh, broom. Thank you. A broom. A broom screws in like that. A broom. What else? What? Cake stand usually just goes like that. What? It screws in. So Rabbi Chodi has a cake stand that actually screws in. And he would like everybody to know about it. Right? He has a cake stand that screws in or whatever. Okay. So what would you think? By me, this is the most pashit takua. This should be the biggest ride that you don't know what's going on here. By me, that's the biggest taka in the world. The Shard Tzion in Sivkat Lamed Beis got a long Shard Tzion over here. Long Shard Tzion. He says, Hinei from the Mogen Avram, kishiyahadik b'choizek alidei sroif. Sroif is like a screw. That's Tekeya Mamish. That's Tekeya Mamish. Okay? Then he goes on to say what he's saying. He says, but look in the Maimer Mordechai, that he says a sroif, a screw, here's a tzat l'hakel. And then he comes out like the Mogen Avram, and he says, but you know what? A sroif is only a drabat. You hear what's going on here? Now what's this? Once you explain this to me, we might be able to understand the whole sugya. A screw is not taka, maybe. The Mogen Avram says a screw is taka, And comes again, I don't know, my Mordechai and all his friends over there, and they say, no, a screw might not be taka, it might be usr, but it's not going to be an issa deraisa, it's only going to be drabanan. What's drabanan? I guess hiddik. So now you're getting a little bit of an education in how to learn the sugya. A sroif is something that is so tight, no one disagrees with that. There's nothing tighter than a sroif, right? The tightest thing in the world is your leichter, which is screwed on, or his cake tray, which is screwed on. It's not as tight as anything. So the tightness is there, but there's an easy way to just open it, right? It just comes off with great ease. So it's tight like anything. So the Magen Avram says, I look at the result. It's tight right now. I don't care that I can take it off. That's taka. If it's meant to be one, das is taka. And he brings here, it's not like that. That's the Rabbanan. It's your click on your baby carriage. I don't know. So now let's go back. Rabbi Khan, now you're not so brave anymore, no? Now you're not so brave. I don't know. He says any screw. What's the difference between a sroif and Rabbi Leibovich's baby carriage? He has a baby carriage that he takes and it clicks into place and it's tight like anything. And it's the easiest thing to come out. God, it's not the easiest thing. You know, you have to have like Rachmei Shemayim and Tzchasavis. You know what I'm talking about. Like, like the hardest thing in the world to take apart. Everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. You have the wrong brand. But a kapanim or baby carriage. But you know what I'm talking about. So you take this thing, it clicks in, you're able to get it out. But while it's in, it's like strong like anything. Thus the Magen Avram is calling that taka. And the Maimon Mordechai brings out a side that's not called taka. Was it does? Does is maybe hiddik. Does maybe hiddik, okay? So this is what you have to start the sugya. You have the sugya. What should I tell you? Dorcha Shabbos in the 8th parak, now we start. Okay, now you know the Shulchan Aruch and you know the Mishabur. You don't even know the Chazon Ish yet. He's about to change the whole world. But the Orcha Shabbos in Ches, Samech Daled, he says, clips, that's roughly. When something clips into place, that's called roughly. Clip, when something clips into place. Clips. What's a clip? It's an English word, clip. What's like a carriage? Something clips into place, right? Or you have like, what? Or clicks. You want to say that's a more advanced, I'm not sure he's from Muncie. What? Like it clicks into place, right? So you have something that clicks into place. He says if it has like a self-destruct button, like you have these like skateboard loch that go on the back of the baby carriage. You know what I'm talking about? Like that for the husband. You know what I'm talking about, right? So that thing clicks into place, right? It comes out, you take it in, you take it out, it comes out of place, right? So is that the Baina B'Kalim? Is that Baina B'Kalim? So the Rosh Shabbos is going to tell you, das is roughly, and it's not the derech to make it taka, right? Because nobody screws it in with the nails and pounds it in. He says, das is mutter gomer. What's mutter gomer? Is it mutter gomer? How does he know it? He brings it bisvar. It doesn't have any makor, because it can't be a makor for such a thing, right? Me, if I was looking for a makor for such a thing, I would have maybe said the Sharet Tzion's a makor for such a thing. What does it say in the Sharet Tzion? I'm not saying halacha l'maisa now. No one should get nervous. You could get nervous. I don't mind if you get nervous. But I'm not saying halacha l'maisa. I'm using Tanei as just like a case study. But if I want to bring a raya to this idea of something that's very, very tight, but that easily is dismantleable, where would I look for such a question? I would look in my Rabbi, in the Sharet Tzion, in the heart of the Sugya, Sivkot and Leiv, where he brings down over there that it's deraisa according to the Magen Avram and Drabanan according to everybody else. So if you want to know what is something which clicks into place, it sounds to me like it's at least a Drabanan. I don't know. I asked this question to the Melech of all of Klal Yisrael, to Rabbi Yashiv. Rabbi Yashiv said it's also clicks, things that click into place. Rabbi Yashiv felt it's also. We might have other Ateirim, but mitzad it's chibur. Rabbi Yashiv said it's also. The truth is that now it's in print. They bring down all the books that ever talk about Rabbi Yashiv's shita. It was Yadur. Rabbi Yashiv held like this. Okay, don't worry. If your kid is going to be stuck in the high chair, we're not leaving anybody just yet, right? But I'm saying you have to know what's the. Rabbi Yashiv is brought in the Shvus Yitzchak. He brings him down 5 places, page 23, page 36. In Rav Karp's book, in Hilchos Shabbos B'Shabbos, he says Rabbi Yashiv hold that things that are, and I heard it from Rabbi Yashiv. I mean, Yehuda V'Oid Lakra, you don't need me, you have them, and that's in print. Whatever you write in print, you see, so much validity. So he said that it's awesome. You read Rabbi Yashiv, you think Rabbi Yashiv's like some weird Xeris HaKosef. It's a weird concept. They said that they asked Rabbi Yashiv and they bring down Rabbi Yashiv said this. I have written down. I asked Rabbi Yashiv from this Sharet Tzion, is it a raya? And we brought him there a high chair, which we'll talk about the story at a different time, right? But we brought a high chair and we said, would it be a raya from the Sharet Tzion, Sivkot Lamed Beis, that this is the Raisa or the Rabbanan? And Rabbi Yashiv said yes. So that's it. That's Mefurish. That's Mefurish. What does he say? He says mutter. But why does he say? What does it have to do with the Sharet Tzion? How does he do with the Sharet Tzion? What? Let's see. But we're not saying halacha today. We're not saying where am I reading? No, this is the srive. Which one? Bizmanenu mitziin kelim harbe asher chalkeim uchabarim yachad aydei kfitz. Kavot ha'elu harei inem mitparkin klai de mashiach chelik v'erai. Achenim loichs in the yesh laden the gather of the harkava of these things is called tekiah. L'chayra etzem ein achiber chazak. It's not so strong. Just as something blocking it from coming out. Now stamza, you have to know that's not so simple. That's just the way it's written here is just not so simple than it seems. It's true, the baby carriage ones, the high chair ones, you could hear it. The high chair ones, I was kind of thinking that also. We showed the time, this is what I want to talk about, maybe not today, tomorrow, but we showed Rabbi Yashiv a high chair that the piece goes in, it like fits in, and then it like pops up. And that's it itself. Sometimes they mamish fit in and they are tight. And the way it's written here is like, sometimes you do have things that they click into place, but they're really not tight. They're just being blocked. He's talking about that. And on that, Itaka goes on to say that that's just like a lock. That's a big chiddush, this. There's a big chiddush. What's the difference between this and a screw? So a screw, you say no, because the screw fits into place. But the screw, that's not true. The screw is also, if you think about it in essence, a screw is also very loose. What? It's just 25 locks. It's just 25 locks, right? What? So sometimes it's tight. Sometimes it could be tight, right? But really what it is in essence is 25 ties. What's the difference? It's 25 locks. I'll tell you even more. Rabbi say some of the baby carriage lock. Some of the baby carriage lock, right? You ever saw them talking about they have that big wheel screw? You know what I'm talking about? And they like screw it in. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. They have like, no one has it? I saw it recently. They have like, it has like this huge, the one I'm thinking is green. It's like a green wheel and it has like a big screw and it screws in. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. They have like a plastic screw. It's like a huge screw. No one knows what I'm talking about. You see what I have to go through every day? You don't know what I'm talking about. Fancy guy from Muncie, you don't know what I'm talking about? Where's the 5,000? You know what I'm talking about or no? You don't know what I'm talking about? The screw that screws in, it's a plastic screw. All right, I don't know. All right. Boss? Sorry? The one I have? No, it's like, all right, we'll continue tomorrow, I suppose. I don't know. I guess I have to bring these things in. Anybody has things, you should just bring them in. You should bring it in. Sorry? Yeah, they should bring in everything tomorrow. What? No, it's also in the Maklat. It's like, what? No, I just want to say one thing, and then maybe the one thing, Mamish, for 1 second, I just want to say, I'm just giving you Agdama, so that should be, no matter what, you have to somehow make some type of a mention of what went on yesterday. Is that we are in the safest place on earth, right? Not because we're in a miklat, right? We're in the safest place on earth because the Gemara in Makis on Daf Yud, the Gemara brings down over here that Amar of Yechanan, the Gemara brings down that Harav Shegala, Megalin Yeshiva Sa'imai, a Rav that goes into Kallus, so the whole yeshiva has to go also. This is the famous Gemara. The Gemara says that if the Talmud goes to Kallus, so then the Rebbe has to go also. And over here it says that if the Rebbe goes to Kallus, the Talmud has to go. So the Gemara says like this. What do you mean? The Torah itself is a miklat. Somebody said, I was clarifying if they should go from the base medrash to the it wasn't the Gebechlal. It says in first in the Gemara that Torah is a miklat. Ad kedikach that the Gemara says. So why in the world does the Rebbe have to go to miklat, and why is he bringing the Talmid and the Torah is in here miklat? And the Gemara brings a pasuk. So the Gemara says no, but there's a chilik habeidna de asik. It makes a chilek division if he's actually learning or not, right? So if you're mamish in the mitten of the learning, so then it's kailet. But if you're not mamish, holding mamish in the middle of learning, so then the base medrash isn't kailet. Then it's not kailet. And then the Gemara brings a story like this. The Gemara brings a story. Ki hadar Rav Chizda. Rav Chizda was Yosef Vigaris b'Bei Rav, and he was learning in the base medrash. The malach couldn't come near him. Because he wouldn't stop learning. Rav Chisda didn't know he was supposed to die, but he was just learning. So, but the Malach HaMavis had to come. Salak Yosef HaArza. So the Malach HaMavis went and he sat on a cedar tree in the Beirav, in the base medrash over there. The Paka, it broke. V'shasik, he was quiet. V'yachalei, and he was able to get him. Derech Agav, the Chavetz Chaim brings the raya that, what do you mean? He didn't go to the bathroom, he didn't eat, he didn't drink. Okay, that's all Tayelis HaLearning. Everything he was doing was Tayelis HaLearning. But here, the only thing was when he stopped, that was already Shtikl Taina. When he stopped, then the Malach HaMavis had Koyach. But so Derech Agav, you see from the Gemara that the Ir Mikla, the base medrash, when a person is B'shas, he's learning, B'chal nothing to be worried about. B'shas that he's learning, he's in the safest place on earth. He's in an Ir Mikla. So Rabbi Kiveger is the Mamish Maimer Musgar. I was only going to say this, and then I saw on the side, Rabbi Kiveger asks a kasha. Rabbi Kiveger asks, you have to know Rabbi Kiveger is asking a kasha. He says, Ayin Shabbos daf Lamed Amid Beis. No, mitzvah l'shmayla divrei chachamim. So Rabbi Kiveger tells you to go and look. It doesn't ask as a kasha. He says, go and look in Shabbos. So what does it say in Shabbos Lamed Beis? Everybody knows. David HaMelech. I guess Rabbi Kiveger is asking a kasha. David HaMelech, everyone knows the whole story. David HaMelech was supposed to die, and the Malach HaMavis said Shlita to get him, and he came to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, said, when am I going to die? He wanted to learn. He didn't want to die. The whole story is over there. Maybe I could die early. No, I need your Torah. Maybe I could die late. No, because it's time for Shlomo Melech. So finally, David HaMelech got out the information that he's going to die on Shabbos. That's what David HaMelech found out, that he's going to die on Shabbos. So Shabbos, David HaMelech made his Mishmar. He's learning from the beginning to the end. He's not stopping for a second. And David HaMelech had learned and learned. What happened? The Malach HaMavis didn't know what to do. We got to bring David HaMelech, Shlomo Melech. It's time for him to come. So David HaMelech went. So the Malach HaMavis went. He did something with a tree. Again, same story. He started rustling the trees. David HaMelech went outside. He was holding still in the Gemara. He was holding a Dillim, and he walked outside. And when he walked up the tree, what was going on over there? But why was he walking on the tree on Shabbat? Anyway, so he goes up the tree. It's before the Xerigas. And then he went, and while he was walking, a branch snapped or something, and then he stopped for a second. The Malach HaMavis was shoylet on him. Adkan. So the obvious what Rabbi Kiveger asking. Rabbi Kiveger is asking. So why do you bring from the story from Rabbi Chisda to show that the koyach of Torah? Bring from David HaMelech. David HaMelech is 1,000 years before, and David HaMelech is Adonenu David. And why do you have to bring from Rabbi Chisda? My Leiv tells me maybe this is one of the reasons why on Shavuos we have trees and flower, whatever. Everybody has different minhagim, but why we have trees and flowers? It's like you're in the middle of learning in Shavuos night, and you look up for 1 second, and you see there's a tree. Go back and learn. Right? You see for 1 second, there's like a flower there and a tree there. Go learn. Don't stop for a second. But that's the kasha. So I looked around today. The Marshal says, yeah, Nechanami, the Gemara could have said that. But the Ben Yoyada, he says a very interesting grade here. The Ben Yoyada says, it's not a raya from David HaMelech, maybe. He says, he brings a bunch of terutzim. He says, first of all, David HaMelech maybe had schus of being the king of Klal Yisrael, and David HaMelech was also in Eretz Yisrael, and it was also schus of Shabbos. He starts saying all the different things that were going on by David HaMelech. So he says, so by David HaMelech, it's not such a raya that's just the Torah. It's just the Torah that's protecting. It's also the Torah to protect him. It's Torah and Shabbos and it was probably the Yontif of Shavuos, and it was probably all these things together was why David HaMelech wasn't dying. But it's not a raya just the Torah. Mashenke Rav Chitz is a raya that just the Torah has the ability to protect. I was just thinking, Hamish Maimer Musgar, before you get the Rechizik from Moshe Zechron Levrach, from Moshe's father, I'm just thinking, it's a Peled Gezach, everyone's talking, it's Mebron and like Ba'omer, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai has the koyach to lift earth koil oilam. He had the ability to part the whole entire oilam. And but safe, that's where that Sarah occurred, and everyone talks about that. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, this, that. And maybe it's mamish pum fakir pum, maybe. Maybe if you think about it, it's mamish the exact. Look over here. You have over here. If anything, it has to bring out the grosskeit of Moshe and the other tzaddikim that were nifter in this terrible tragedy. There's a grosskeit in this. These are people that on the day which we have no asaga what Lag Ba'omer is. Lag Ba'omer no asaga, and it's a day that Rabbi Shimon Ketaka Pater is koila oilam. It's a day that, and where in Rabbi Shimon's place you have all the schusim on Lag Ba'omer b'shas the tefillah. B'shas the adlaka, b'shas after nach the vidrei, nach the shema, but everything with the Lag Ba'omer, with the Hamoin Am of Klal Yisrael, with the Erlich Yidin, with all of that schusim, right? So be'etzim, really the Malach HaMavis, Mamish had no chance. Mamish had no chance. Mamish had no chance. But Avada, this was a korban that this was a korban that had to do whatever Maritik Kiddush Hashem had to do. And Batsim had no chance. The Malach Mavas had no chance. It's the same type of story. He didn't have a chance, not a chance with Moshe's type of tefillah, and no chance with the schos of like Ba'omer and the schos of this. So the only way for the Malach Mavas to achieve this was with Azag Reis Arash. Without such a rash, that's what you're seeing over here. The only way he can get David HaMelech is he makes such a rash, and all of a sudden David HaMelech even stops learning. Because he had to stop it. He had to go against all that schos. He had to go. But that fakert, what that has to show you is how much of a rash was necessary in order to take these korbanos. That has to show you the grace-kite of these people. Right? Kavachomer of Inzer that we found out about during and after in every which way. He found out the grace-kite, the godless of it. Now you understand. It makes the Darkei Hashem and Loi Machshavosai, Machshavosechem, but the grace God, the grace of rash. What's such a rash? How did it happen in such a rash? The Teretz is because you know what we're talking about. Because now you understand why. Avada, because it was with Moshe and his grace of Kaiches and on Lag Ba'omer and this and all that. So then the only way was with such a rash. And the Malach HaMavos had a mission. These korbanos, the Rebbeinu Shalom, have a Gedafte korban. He wanted this. Has to give a little bit of a chizik that is not, it's not hefkerus. It gives a little bit of a chizik. So let's hear now a little bit from Moshe's father. Yes, still there. Warm. It's a little warm for you. Want a cup of water?
No. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me here to discuss. Also, Gross Shkoch for providing us with the Shabbos meals. Last Shabbos, we're in Tel Sion by my son Yom Chaim. And amazing, thought of everything, the Kallus and the drinks, the disposables. There's one problem you should know. There's one problem with all the food, everything. There's much too much. Even what you can freeze and fry. So if you ever cater for anybody else, for a happy occasion, rather than that, you don't need so much food. So, apart from just the food, it was the feeling that you're with us. And that was very much. My wife has been a teacher, and she's been planning what she's going to be saying to her classes and everything, and to various groups. She actually spoke last night, and probably there was a ladies' gathering in Hanoff. Ram Shapiro was flown in. She actually got up and spoke on stage. So she said, Be'erech, that people can't understand such a Nisayon. How can you do it? They don't know what to say. But Kshach definitely gives a kaiches. Through the brachas, all the brachas we receive from everybody. And Kshach is with us. Where somebody came in a Shiva, and he said that he lost a son, must have been very young. At the same time, a cousin of his also lost a child. And he felt much more sad for his loss of his own one. Because really, he felt that Kashmir was giving him kaiches to cope with it. Hard, obviously, but to cope at least to some level. So my wife has this marshal that to drive a car, you can't just get in a car. You have to have the lessons. You also have to have the theory lessons. You have the theory lessons, and you know what the road signs mean, and you sit in the car all the time, and this is what you turn this you do here. And you pass the theory test, and once you've done the theory test, you know about it, then you're ready to go out on the road. So the same is with, we were brought up, the hashkafas and the munah and all the shurim. That's like the theory test. The petrol, the gas, gasoline is like that's the shurim, everything we hear. And then sometimes the person has to pass through, given an nisayon, whatever it may be. So this is when, and we've been helped, the Siyata Ishmael, and all the people around, we've heard so much about Moshe that we didn't know. I feel like I've gained a son, because we also grew up with him through school, and went to yeshiva, and we're used to him. We're hearing now so many amazing things that we didn't know, and we're grateful those who came in and told the stories, and those who wrote things down. It's a great iris for us. We had greatest iris during the week. So the Amonish is much harder. It's a different matter. It's changed our whole life. But we've had greatest iris. Yesterday we were taken to Bnei Brak. The Nasiyafa took us around to Gedolim. also grocery stores, to Chaim. My wife and my girls were allowed to go in. They went into the room, looked through the door. So Chaim doesn't say much. We put text in front of him. We said we go to Brachas. As also goes to Kallus. Went to Tavern Mincha by Gershon. They just in Mamash in his room. Also afterwards, gave us Brachas. They went to Rishon Kalai, and that was a bit more, less boichik, but much of time was on. He expected a bit more. I'll tell you the story at the end. He told us. So we've had to gross to Chizah, gross to Oris. So most of you that came in, as we spoke about, which is smile and drive and tender and so on, those things. And he was in the mirror before, and obviously he came here one day in the morning. And just on a personal level, I was, I'm by the boss, I don't know for you, there's historic mission. So in the yeshiva, probably said to some of you, not so much. I can talk to him about the depth of the sukkah. You learn Achal Mission Bura. Oh, then I can speak to him, So what you learn so just on the Wednesday, to do with that, like what in there. So you learn, I was called, I had a discussion with him, a door knocker, a Shabbos door knocker, I can buy mirrors, anyway. So, but you also know of his good midas as well. So I'll tell you a few stories, not the ones that you may know, but I'm sure we'll stim with what you do know of him. So apparently one of the Shchenim was moving out of his dira, he's getting back to him, I think, and had a lot of stuff that he wanted to keep in Eretz Yisrael. So I asked Moshe, do you have room to look after these cases? Fine, so yes, no problem, look, take the cases, fine, bring them around. Fine, so he brings them around one by one, and they put them where they're going to put them. So Moshe and Shiur, they noticed that the spiders all over the one side of each case, where it was stored, and so he gets out the spray, and he's spraying, and each case comes in, and he needs a spray. So one of the cases, after a few, the fellow notices he's spraying here, but he didn't like his cases that have got the spiders on. So he was spraying the wall, he thought he was. So he says, oh, you have mold here. So it happened, he did have some problem with mold. That's why I had the sprayer. So, yeah, I'm just dealing with it before you, but yeah, we had a bit of mold around. No, I have a minute of it. They wouldn't tell him it's your cases. It's, we're sorting out them one. One time, he was walking on the road for Sukkot. So whenever if they're walking along and you see him asking the money, so Moshe would say she said to me, let's give him something. Did you think you were going to give? How much did you think you were going to give? Because you have machshava to give somebody, like an Eden. Did you definitely say you were going to give? Maybe, how much you going to hold secretariat? So anyway, so Moshe on his own, he walked past this man and he was asking money, and so the fellow was crying. So Moshe didn't just give him, I spoke to him a minute, so the man said, no, I've got a from Lord of Esra, for this, for the arms, whatever. So Moshe gave him all he had on him, and he went home to get more, and he said, this man, he was crying, he said he was crying. So he decided we were going to give him 600 shekel, because he got nothing, the man was crying, he got no Lord of Esra, so 600 shekel, he went back. When Moshe came back from England, it was after Shiur last year, he came to England for Pesach, managed to get out just before when the whole thing was starting. He couldn't get back after Shiur, so there was bidud for 2 weeks or whatever it was. So finds some people bring in the things he can't get out. So we need a grape juice for $1. So he called to the neighbor, have you got any grape juice? Fine. So Yana brought him a bottle of grape juice. So after he got back bidud, he wanted to pay him back the grape juice. So he went to the shop. It was a different type of grape juice. It was a good texture. He went to a different shop. He wanted to give me exact bottle of grape juice that he gave me. Now we gave us what grapes he likes, he's used to. I should give him back the same grape juice. He went quite a few shops to manage to find the same grape juice. I was always thinking of Yana. You heard the story about the Coke. He was walking with somebody. It was a hot day. And so Yana had a bottle of Coke. He bought a big bottle of Coke for Shabbos. So he said to Moshe, would you like some? It's very hot. I can see you sweating. I'll give you a bit of the Coke, have a couple, whatever. So Moshe said, really, I don't think he said what you were thinking he would like. If he opens the big bottle now and pours out some, put the lid on, but take the chat, it won't be so fizzy. Come to Shabbos, if he opened it, I pulled some out, I put the lid on, it won't be so fizzy for him. So he didn't take the Coke. Because when he gets to Shabbos, it won't be so nice. Now, I don't know who came in and what time, the bag of money. Some of you, I'm sure, must have heard from me the story about a bag of money. No? I can't get over the story. So, Shiur Amona told us that there was a bag of money, a small bag of money on a shelf in the Dira. And she didn't quite know what it was. And most didn't say what it was. So one time they needed some money. It wasn't a big amount of money, 20, 50 shkolim. Maybe we can take from this money, this bag. No. So eventually he explained what was a bag of money. So he said, this bag of money was given to me by my parents before the chasana to prepare for the chasana. Up in it for clothes and a base, whatever things you need to prepare for the chasana. He doesn't know now if he's allowed to use it. A year later. What do you know? He said, they gave it to me. This is money to prepare for the chasana. Isn't if allowed to use it. So she said to her, and the money's still there. She said to us, it's still on the shelf. So the man on the last day she brought me the bag of money. It was changed into 10. I got rock pieces of poem or something like that. So I said, I don't know, you keep it. No, you take it. I said, I'll take it so I can show people. So I'll take it back to Manchester. I said, this is the bag of money. So the story that Shimon Galai told us yesterday, he was sitting Shiva for a brother, I think, a few weeks ago. So while I was in Shiva, somebody came in and they were talking and different things. So this person said that he actually lost a son himself fairly recently before that. This person that came into the Shiva lost a son himself. And he said to Rabbi, okay, give me some chizuk. So he didn't know what to say. So somebody else was there. And he said, maybe I can't speak, maybe I'll give him some chizuk. So, this one that spoke said he had also lost a son sometime before. There was a car accident. The boy was on a bicycle, and the car went over into him. So they sat Shiva, and it's very hard. At the end of the Shiva, so the mother of the boy, the wife of this man speaking, said, I would like to buy bikes for all of our children. The kid was killed on a bike. I would like to buy bikes for all of our children. So you want sugar? No, I want to show to the children and to the world, it's not the bike that kills. It wasn't the bike. Shmuel had his plans how it happened at that time, that place, not the bike. Obviously, at the bike, you have to be careful, precautions, but we're not going to say no more bikes ever. Not the bike that kills. So, the same with our matzah. Somebody came in and said, B'Shem, Tzvi Meir Zilberberg, 45 people, that was their time, which Rocha decided, 45 people, that was their time. It could have been maybe, we don't win the Darkei Hashem, obviously, but it could have been the 45 people, could have been nifta, each one in his house, in his road, in his work, wherever it was. Malchut brought them together. What we see is a great Kiddush Hashem, great Oros, all over the world are taking on Kabbalahs. There's spreadsheet going around with 4,000 and rising Kabbalahs, and they make the whole book on it. There's Ma'aseh Tshuva, people doing Tshuva and improving ways. Nuts. So I once saw a machshava, which I've said over to people. People have told me they got chizuk from it. By a Levaya Le'eleinu. So there's a long Kaddish. Very long piece. So that long piece, when else do you say that? I see him. What's the shaykhut between a Levaya Le'eleinu and Siyam? It's opposites. It's application. So a person's life is like a masechta. What do you mean? A person's life is like a masechta. Mentioned like a masechta. So some masechtas are long masechtas, like Basra. Some masechtas are short masechtas. Some masechtas are easy masechta. Some masechtas are hard masechta. Even in the hard masechta, there are easy parts. Even in the easy masechta, there's hard parts. As though he's a mensch. You get to the end of the masechta, you learn from masechta as best you can. You get to the end. Oh, hadrullah, hadrullah, make a siyum, take the Gemara, give a kiss, back on the shelf. We'll see you again. So life of Mensch is like myself. Somebody came into the Shiur, because Salim was Sven, and he said a very simple moshel. He said two people go on a bus. It's fine to sit down. After 2 or 3 stops, one of them gets up from his seat, presses the button. See, I'm getting off here. So another friend says to him, "Why are you getting off here?" Doing why getting off here? I stop, I'm getting off. Stay on the bus. The bus is going a long way. Stay on, stay on. What do you mean? I have to get off here. It's my place to get off here. The bus is going further. Now it's my place. I have to get off here. When Moshe Zatzali went from school to Yeshiva in Gateshead, so in school he was a schoolboy. Baruch Hashem did very well. The Rebbes. When you go to Gateshead, we saw like amazing change. Everybody said, even our Rav Yossi Cohen in Manchester when he came in, he said people also noticed it. He came back after the first man in England to go just in the summer for 3-4 weeks. FS they call it, before you get to Shiur properly, before Eloh's man, and the end of summer's man. So he came back for 3-4 weeks. Different person. Friday night after the Suda, went out to learn for 2 hours. Came back and you could see, and people are telling, I just started learning in this man. So Rabbi Yossi Cohen, he said, it's like a fast track, it's like concentrated time. You have to squash it. Fast track. So this is what some of what we've seen. As we know, the world's making Kabbalahs. We're hoping to go back to Manchester and make it a Siyum Shloshim, and then the town there can come in. People didn't have much chance to see us. I've also made a list of suggested Kabbalahs, Poshta things, Poshta Halachos that people don't seem to know or don't seem to keep or whatever. Simple things like don't walk in front of somebody's Davnishman restaurant. You see all the time. How do you do Osi Shalom? Bow before you get back. You say the word after you've gone back. And simple things like this. One man taught to smile, to say thank you to people. So things we know from ourselves. So Mr. Shem, positive things have come out. Lessons for us, lessons for other people. And that's what it's all about, making Kiddush Hashem. Thank you.